Hey there folks, Jason here, BLB Wargaming, and I have a different kind of video for you tonight. So I was doing what I often do on a weekend where I am bouncing back and forth between taking care of my son and doing work around the house and trying to get the occasional hobby time in. And so this weekend, this will be a bit of a ramble a little bit, and then I will circle back. And if you're familiar with Cub Scouts, every year, my 7-year-old, this will be his first. There's something called a Pinewood Derby, and so you take a block of wood and you build a car out of it and you race it. So I'm doing this with my son today, and I admit it was a bit of a stressful situation. We had some challenges, some last-minute breakages and things, and anybody who's a father or a parent out there will understand this. So I came back to my desk, and I sat down, and one of the folks that I subscribe to is Alfonso the Trader. And he does a lot of 40K kind of painting stuff. And while kind of his and my interests may not intersect completely anymore, now that I've kind of moved away a bit from 40K, I still like watching it. He'll post occasionally. I mean, I don't keep up all the time, but he's on my subscriber list, and I saw a video, which I will link to below, titled Terrain Direct Imperial Guard Donation Drive. And I gave it a watch, and Alfonso, the trader, whether his real name is Alfonso or not, I'm not exactly sure. He can come on here and correct me if he'd like. I'm going to send him this video. He, first off, started by talking about this video he had seen from another YouTube channel called Terrain Direct. And that gentleman, whose name is Craig, had put out a video, and Alfonso strongly encouraged folks to go watch that video and help out. Alfonso, I'm going to keep calling him that unless it's not his real name. He decided to donate a incredibly nicely painted Baneblade tank for Warhammer 40K. A tank he'd been working on for quite some time. I had seen his videos. And so this really surprised me. So often in this community, we'll send each other care packages back and forth, or we'll paint up a vehicle, help for heroes, things like that. But this is a Baneblade this guy's been working on for a long time. And I could tell when he was talking about Terrain Direct's video, Craig's video, there was something really strong and profound and kind of heartbreaking about it. So it really caught my attention. So I then went over to the other YouTube channel and watched that. And it was a very kind of emotional video talking about Craig's godson, Jake, and just the string of horrible luck that he's had. He's diagnosed with leukemia. His dad had to kind of stop working to take care of him. His mother died when he was born. His sister died of leukemia or cancer some years ago. He's developed a viral infection of some sort on top of getting radiology treatment for the leukemia. And what Craig, who was very emotional, and understandably so, I would be in his position, has said was one of the ways to cheer him up is he wants to start an Imperial Guard, whatever it's called now, Astra Militarum force for Jake. Because as we all know, particularly with GW products or any wargaming hobby, it's not cheap. And he asked for painted miniatures, although I think he's kind of modified that in a later video a little bit to accept unpainted miniatures too, to give something Jake to work on. And as I suspect many of you out there might be dads as well, I immediately kind of stopped watching Craig get very choked up, and I started to think about what would I do if something like this happened to Anderson. And, that's a scary thought. I think all of us that are parents would have the same feelings. And so on top of immediately feeling guilty for being frustrated with the Pinewood Derby project, which ended up, I think, working out okay. We'll see how the race goes. ultimately our kids are the most precious things out there we have, and this hobby we spend playing around with, little soldiers of various material. Alfonso the Traders and Terrain Direct's videos really put these into perspective. So this also got me thinking, and I was looking around my shelves and came across a few things that I was planning on putting out on eBay that I've decided to hold on to. But before I show those, not that they're terribly profound, I want to talk a little bit more about YouTube as a community and wargamers as a community. I'm constantly surprised and impressed at the amount of selflessness that the war elements of the wargaming community on YouTube have been willing to show. And Craig at Terrain Direct commented on this, said he didn't expect anywhere near the kind of positive feedback that he received in terms of, I don't have numbers or anything, but the number of people that said, of course I will give this. I mean, somebody gave a Baneblade. I don't know how much those run for these days, but it's not a cheap piece of equipment. Never mind the number of dozens, hundreds, I don't know, probably maybe not hundreds, but dozens of hours Alfonso put into the tank. And the fact that we are willing to step up and do these things for our fellow wargamers, terrain builders, so on and so forth. I wasn't aware of this. I wasn't a subscriber of Terrain Direct. I am now, just because I want to see kind of what happens. But if I could put a plea out there just to get this message out, whether you want to give something that's pre-painted that's on your shelf, or a centerpiece model, or maybe just send a kit, or send Jake via Craig some well wishes, I've always been impressed with how much the community has stepped forward for people. I think this is an opportunity to really kind of show what we can do. So, as I mentioned, I was looking around my room, and if you've noticed, I've been buying a fair number of new things. I just put out a video talking about the games I picked up to try to get my son involved. I picked up Super Dungeon Explorer and Star Wars miniatures and a host of other things. And I am not independently wealthy. I am a government employee, as is my wife, living in Washington, D.C., which isn't the cheapest. In fact, it's the most expensive city to live in the United States. And so what I've been doing is culling out a lot of my Warhammer, particularly 40K models, or things that I bought off eBay, and just putting them back out for sale to basically have spending money to finance my habit. Well, that's picking up new games. A lot of the Warlord stuff has been picked up that way. So I'm just kind of culling out the stuff I didn't want. And the next on the lot were two vehicles that I had been building an Elysian drop troop force for the Imperial Guard back when they were Imperial Guard, back before, I don't even know what Warhammer Edition, 40K Edition we're on now. Before flyers were cool, the Elysians could take Valkyries as dedicated transports, and then I started them during the edition where transports weren't that good. I just wanted an airborne force. I wanted to be able to play Flight of the Valkyries, Ride of the Valkyries, when I deployed everything on the 40K table. I've moved away from 40K. I've stopped the drop troops because if I were to bring that force in a previous Warhammer edition, people would think I was just super cheesy. And I didn't want that. I just want to play a theme list. So I parceled a lot of other things out, including all the Valkyries. But I had a couple of other aircraft that they could take in the force. This was before flyers became really big. So as my mic unclips here, let's see if we can fix that. So what I decided to do, these things were laid out. I'm going to get ready to put them up on eBay, but I think sending them Jake's way would hopefully make his terrible situation a little bit better. It's going to a much better place than it would if I were to sell them on eBay and take whatever money and reinvest them in more stuff that I may or may not get to immediately. And then hopefully kind of encourage my compatriots out there to think about what they could give in whatever form they would like to Jake's situation. So the first one I wanted to I did, or I'm going to be sending Jake's way, is oops, extreme zoom. So I picked up this Thunderbolt fighter from Forge World, and I really liked the kit. It reminded me of the P-47 Thunderbolt, the American. Let's see if maybe it gets in there a bit better. The American P-47 from World War II time frame. I like the book that Dan Abnett did, where it talks about a Thunderbolt squadron. Maybe not the best thing in the game, but it was a really cool model. I did not paint this. I went to the painting service that many people confuse my name for, and had them paint this up. It's all right. I had planned on keeping this for a long time and repainting it, just because I've got to the point now where if I'm going to play with something, I'm going to paint it myself. At that point where I sent this off, I just didn't have time to paint, and I regret that now. But I did put it together myself beforehand, so we're going to go ahead. So it's got the extra missiles that are all magnetized. It's got a special base. It's well painted, I think. And if you like blue, it is kind of a turquoise blue. So this was the first one I'm going to send. Also comes with a base, so I'm going to send that along. And then the other one was one of the coolest ships that I had ever wanted to kind of field if I were going to have a flyer unit. And if you're familiar with the Imperial drop troops, they have access to the Valkyrie gunship, which is basically a stripped down version. No, I'm sorry. It's the Vulture gunship, which is a stripped down version of the Valkyrie. And what it does have is twin-linked Gatling cannons. I forget what they're called, but that's basically what they are, which puts out a stupid amount of shots. Again, these were really great in the previous Warhammer 40k edition. They've just been taking up space on my shelf. And this was also painted by Blue Table Painting to an acceptable standard. Maybe not acceptable to me anymore, but it's fine. I don't think it was worth what I paid for it, but that's another story. So both of these models are going to be heading out to Jake here as soon as I can find an appropriate box and wrap them well. They also come with bases. So I would encourage everybody else out there, if you can think of something, if it's an email or whatnot, and it's not just this, it could be something that comes up next week where another YouTuber themselves needs help, or who knows, I could be on there next week and something, God forbid, happens to my family, and I got a little choked up thinking about, well, if this happens to Jake, what would I do if it happened to Andy? Suddenly our hobby didn't have quite so much meaning momentarily when you start to kind of think about those things. So I just encourage you to kind of, my subscribers or people that just happen upon this video, to think about what this kind of hobby really means and how it can be more than just we watch each other's videos while we paint, or we might leave an appropriately supportive comment. People out there are they're real people. They have real lives. They have real life problems, unfortunately. And if there's anything that we can do to make this a bit more than just a place to throw up videos and and I admit to doing this, begging for as many likes as you can get, kind of taking that secret pride and kind of really put things into perspective. So Craig, Jake, Alfonso, the trader, I really hope that's your name. If not, please let me know. I'm doing my part to chip in. I hope other people consider doing the same thing. I'm going to put links to the videos in the intro, the lower part there. I don't know why people always call it a doobly-doo. I'm not sure what that means. But anyways, think about this, and at the very least, think about what it means to be part of a community. That's one of the reasons why I've become more active lately, comparatively. Is I do get this sense of community, and I figured this was my time to kind of step up and do something for somebody else. So hope you guys are having a great weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Happy wargaming.